What do you see as the future of the sexual marketplace and intersexual dynamics between men and women and the RP in the future? We're going to shut up and let you go. Please take it away.
All right. For women, I see a lot of loneliness on the horizon. And I don't say that to be like an asshole. I say that as sort of a warning. I think a lot, like whenever a guy says, "Oh, you're going to be lonely and cat lady and you're going to have box wine and whatever," like, and you're going to be a spinster is basically what they're saying. And it sounds like revenge. It sounds like guys are either too happy or they're too pissed off or too sad about like the state of women. I just go down to nuts and bolts, and I outline this actually in book 4 as well. There is a study by Morgan Stanley Financial. They did you can go find it too. It's online. It's called The Rise of the She Economy. And in that sort of research, they postulate that by 2030, women between the ages of 25 and 44, something like 52%. I hope I'm getting my numbers right. Something like 45 to 52%.
It's over half.
Yeah, over
it is going to be over half
of women of marriageable age will be single for the rest of their lives. They will not reproduce unless they get unless they get artificial insemination, but they will be unmarried and childless during those ages by 2030, which is like a very, very steep incline. In fact, they are so certain of this that they did this research on Morgan Stanley so their investors would know what to invest in the coming decade.
Wow.
So they're invest in box wine, right? And invest in cat toys, invest in
it's not a joke, guys, when we say this.
In ovum freezing, in reproductive technology,
and pet dogs.
Cats, dogs, whatever. What is going to be hot in the future, and this is what you can expect, and so this is what you should put your money into. So if we're already making predictions of where we should put our money, I think we need to look at why this is the way it is. Now, if you go and you follow the logic of Bloomberg or Morgan Stanley, Forbes, whatever, they will say this is a great success. This is a glowing, great progress of humanity. Well, finally, women are independent. Whenever you hear women say, like we heard last night from the 20-year-old girl, I want to give up my independence, right? Okay, I wanted to say this, but I didn't. Independent of what? Independent, like if you're independent of something, what were you dependent on that you're now independent of?
Right.
And whenever we hear this, remember I was telling you about how we've been hearing the same lingo from feminists for a long time. That's one of them. I want to be a strong, independent woman. Okay, independent of what? Independent of men. That's what it is. They've already achieved that.
Video, go ahead and smash that like button. It's a bit of a more serious topic today, so we'll go ahead and get right into it. The gentleman that you saw speaking in that video clip from Fresh and Fit podcast, shout outs to them, was Rollo Tomasi. Okay, a few tidbits of information I want to introduce and speak before we get into the presentation today. Many women, black women in particular, are upset with Kevin Samuels and mainly Kevin Samuels and other people in other spaces similar to his that are, I wouldn't say exposing, but for lack of a better term, exposing certain truths about what's going on in today's dating market, the truth about women, black women in particular. And so they're upset with Kevin Samuels as if Kevin Samuels was the one who started all of this. What women and many people who also are unaware should understand is that red pill channels and red pill content has been around for a while, right? You have literature, you have other channels and other disseminators of this information. Rollo Tomasi is one of those. So Rollo Tomasi is considered the progenitor of the red pill concept as it pertains to intersexual dynamics between men and women. He's also the author of Rational Male. I included him in that video clip for reasons that we'll get into in a second here. Okay. A few caveats before we get into this presentation. First caveat is that I'm not against marriage. I actually think that marriage is one of the few institutions remaining that can actually help to save Black America. Um, and that would do Black America some justice. However, I'm against what marriage has become today. I would tell anybody that if you are married, stay in the marriage, because what's out here on this single dating market is not what you want, especially if you can work it out. If it's any way reconcilable and you guys don't have to split, and I tell all my married friends as well, you could ask them. And if any of y'all watch this video, please comment so that they know it's not, it's not make believe. But yeah, so I'm not against marriage, but I'm against what it's become today and the way it's done today, and how many of the incentives and even the laws are set up on the books against a certain demographic. But we'll get into that as well. All right. And thirdly, or secondly, should I say, I'm not. What I'll be saying today in this presentation is not referring to all women, even though it may sound like it. But it's not referring to all women. I never speak in all absolutes. Always, make it plain to, what I'm speaking about. And secondly, I'm okay with generalities as long as they apply mostly to the demographic at hand, to whatever it is that we're speaking about. I'm not one that has to be politically correct or gets caught up in political correctness. And thirdly, um, yeah, this is just not, I'm not speaking in all absolutes, even though the numbers will bear out the information itself. Nothing I say is a one size fits all, but I think you'll bear that out. So, the topic of discussion, right, that we saw in the video clip was this study done by Morgan Stanley. Morgan Stanley is an investor. Once hired by their clients, they pretty much direct their clients on what to invest in. Right now, this study that was done by Morgan Stanley's back in 2019. It's called Rise of the She Economy. In this study, they go over different prospects as it pertains to women and their growth in the job field and in the labor force. They talk about several things as far as like how women, mainly and specifically, are gaining more traction in the workforce. They're coming up as far as like the earnings that they're making and different things like that. It talks a little bit about the wage gap, but the wage gap has largely been debunked for those who have done their research. When it all boils down, you have about 10 to 15% of an actual gender wage gap that's unaccounted for, that can be left for speculation. All right. But the point of this study, and the main thing that we want to focus on, is this part right here. Based on Census Bureau historical data and Morgan Stanley forecasts, 45% of prime working age women between the ages of 25 to 44 will be single by 2030. They're saying that these women will be single and childless for the remainder of their lives. Okay, the largest share in history, up from 41% in 2018. So this is what Rollo Tomassi, as you heard him speaking about. Most women are going to be single. I personally think it'll be more than 45%. I think 45% is kind of what we're at around now. All right, and I think 50% is it's what the projections I think is what more than likely what it will be. Okay, now is this a victory for women? I think we have to stop and ask ourselves. I would say that it's not, right? And of course, we define single as anything other than married. So even if you're engaged, single, boyfriend, single, talking to somebody, you're definitely single, right? So is this a victory for women? Is this a good thing that most women will be single and childless by the year 2030? And I think that even with most women, valuing their independence, I don't think most women deep down really want to be single. Um, and I don't think that they would agree that that's a good thing either. And what does that mean for not only the country, but specifically as it pertains to black people, right? Because we know black people, we've been at 13% of the population for what, years on end, right? We know that there's more of our women that are available than it is men, and 1 in 4 women will ever marry to anybody in life. So 50% of women being single, can that be considered a victory? I think we should beg to differ. Now, the point of this video and this presentation is what I want to take a look at is some reasons for why people, not just women, are choosing to be single, but also what are the implications for Black America? Because as we know, Black family, this is first of all, my channel is a Black channel. Of course, as you have seen, anybody who's seen my videos, you understand that. Um, and I tend to focus on topics as it pertains to a lot of things can be applied to other ethnic groups, but my main concern is the Black, quote unquote, Black community, right? And because Black people, as a black person myself who actually cares about um, the well-being of our people, I have to stop and consider all of these factors as far as like where it's taking us and what the implications are for us as a people. And family, this is not good. I mean, we already have studies that are indicating that by the year 2053, the black household net worth will be $0. Okay, now if we're not having families because there's more single women, that means that there's less children growing up in stable homes and two-parent households. That means there's more single mother households. And, you know, maybe I'll go over some statistics. Maybe I'll make this a part one and a part two. But all conceivable studies have shown that children not only do they fare worse when a father's not in the home, but they also bear better. They also fare better, excuse me, when there's just a father as opposed to a mother. That's not to denigrate single motherhood, but it is what it is. Okay, um, but so more women will be single, and most women will be single by the year 2030. Okay, what are some reasons for that? What are some contributing things to that? Well, let's look at one. The marriage rate in the United States right now is 6.1. That means that per 1,000 people, 6.1 people is married. So per 1,000 men, 6.1 are married. Okay, the divorce rate is also down, and it's divorce rates are also low. But go figure, if you have less people getting married, consequently, that's less people getting divorced. All right, but that's still not good. 6.1 is actually the lowest that the rate has been, and I want to say like 118 years since they started recording the marriage rate. All right. Then when you take a look at 50% of between 40 and 50%, I personally think it's over 50%. That's just me. Okay. But if I told you, family, that you had a 50% chance that if you jumped out of a plane, you had a 50% chance of surviving or dying, would you still jump out the plane? I think most of us know the answer to that question. But more specifically, men, let's focus on the men for a second. Men, because of the advent, let's be real, of things like social media, right? They're seeing how a lot of men are getting divorce rate and taken through the coals after their marriages are over. And then if you look up the statistics, the majority of women get alimony in divorce cases. The majority of women, the vast majority of women get child custody in family court out of divorces and things like that. And so, and then also another valuable piece of information is that out of all this information that we've already showed, do you know who initiates the divorce between 70 and 80% of the time? At this point, it's probably 80 or over 80. It's women. All right. And that number increases among college educated women. So, you know, men are seeing that there's less people getting married. The marriage rate is it's like 50-50. It's a 50-50 shot. And then second marriages, they second marriage is like something like a 62% divorce rate, and then third marriages is like 73 or something like that. So we clearly see that unless people are getting married for the right reasons, which most of them are not, and unless they're on the same page, these marriages ain't lasting. And the men are seeing this as well, and the men are seeing that women are divorcing them. And you know, for somebody's gonna say, you know, men just don't want their stuff taken. Most men don't even make that much, especially black men. Well, it's not about first and foremost the stuff that they're losing. Yeah, that's a big part of it, and the legacies that they built. But it's other things. It's other tangible things, such as the family unit being broken apart. You know, again, their legacy, which legacy isn't, you know, strictly your resources or your assets. You know, it could be your family legacy. A lot of men take those things seriously because it's a lot of men. You know, most men, I would venture to say, probably want to be with one person, right? Within a monogamous relationship. However, times have changed. You know what I'm saying? Um, Times have changed. Dating's not the same. And again, we see that most women, more times than not, are initiating these divorces. Now, why are women initiating divorces, specifically as it pertains to the black community and really all women in general? Well, let's look at Exhibit D, right? Hypergamy. Okay. We all know hypergamy. Well, we may not all know, but in a nutshell, let me just inform anybody who doesn't. Hypergamy is, in a very simple way to put it, hypergamy is the notion that women date across or either up, usually up, okay? We know that in 2021, women have no problems, especially black women, with letting it be known to men that they want their partner to make X and Y amount. Usually that's considerably more than what they make, okay? And this is observable in a real life environment and real life scenarios. Just look at how, you know, women act when they get around power. Women flock to power. Part of it is understandable because it's instinctual. You know what I mean? It's kind of from a nature in a biological standpoint, women are kind of hardwired to survive. This is why even back from hunter-gatherer days, men who could hunt and show proficiency at hunting and had certain skins or certain garments that were made from certain hides of certain animals show that they were proficient at hunting. These were considered the quote unquote alpha men, the leaders of the pack, the ones that could get stuff done, right? So you see that women tend to flock towards those who have resources. So in other words, that their provision will be there and that their offspring will survive. This is kind of the natural biological part of it. Humans it's a little bit more when we factor in socioeconomics, right? Women tend to want men who make the most money. From a physiological standpoint, women tend to want men that are taller, have broad shoulders, certain masculine features, so forth and so on, right? Now this is known as the 80-20 rule in hypergamy, right? 80-20 rule says that 80% of men have access to 20% of, oh, I'm sorry, see, does this mean that women? No, it does not. It just means that they have access to this group of women. Okay. Now, uh, some people believe that the number is actually higher than 80%. Some people think that it's 100. 100% of women are looking for the top 20 to 30% of men. I tend to agree with that because we can see again in a real life scenario, right? Like the most important factors that for women when they're evaluating men, just to throw some out there, are like socioeconomic status, specifically your resources, how much money he has, your social status, like how popular is he, because popularity goes to pre-selection, right? We all know that women are attracted to men who other women want, right? It's called pre-selection. It's something about when men are desired by other women, especially attractive women. It makes women and men alike kind of go, oh, okay, what is it about him that that makes this attractive woman want to be with him and be in his space and be involved with him? So that's a part of it as well. So you have economics, social status, you have looks, you have personality. Personality is kind of on the lower end of the totem pole, and then you can start throwing in other things from that um, you start throwing other things in there at after that point from those things I just named. Okay, and then there is one of the easiest examples and analogies to give with regards to this is the celebrity factor, right? We know how women get around celebrities, and it's not to say that every woman gets this way around celebrities, okay, but by and large, it's generally true. There's a saying that says that every woman is a groupie for somebody, right? Okay, and so we all understand how these dynamics work, and so men are seeing all of this take place in real time. And then when you throw in the advent of feminism, how feminism and everything in society, specifically Western society, is catered to women to the feminine imperative. What do I mean by catered to the feminine imperative? I mean that everything, if you look at how it's structured and how it's what they condition you towards, they condition men specifically and women that the woman's her mating strategy is it takes preeminence. In other words, it's the priority. So very simply put, society emphasizes how women, women being married, women being in relationships, women being able to preserve their mating strategy, which is typically when they're younger, they go after the quote unquote alphas, what are known as the alpha men, men who are known to be leaders, dominant, more uh, I guess we could say masculine, have more testosterone, certain things like that. This is when they're younger though. So in a woman's peak sexual years, not even just sexual, but a woman's peak years on the sexual marketplace between the ages of like 18 and 25, she has no concern about, seeking a provider or seeking somebody who is a good father figure. Most of them. Some women who are gems who are ahead of the game, they do understand it from an early standpoint. Maybe they have a father or a mother in their lives who, told them the right mating strategy, which is, hey, seek somebody while you're young during your prime years, so that way you don't become older and then your options start to wane. Because what typically happens is once you see women get around age 28, 29, 30, this is what's known as the twilight years, right? Where women see that they're not only their eggs, their physical eggs, because women's eggs have an expiration date, but they see that the options that they're getting older and that they kind of better narrow down on a man, right, before it gets too late, essentially. And many women don't do this. Okay, and so what you typically see is after the age of 30, most women they're kind of chant and their mantra becomes men need to man up when it's like, they just didn't secure um, a high value enough man in their earlier prime years, which, and again, high value is something to me. I don't strictly consider making a lot of money high value, because to me, I call that high earning, because to me, a high earning man isn't necessarily high value, but that's another topic for another discussion. Okay, but these are some of the reasons why men are abstaining, and why marriage period, right, is on the decline, why the divorce rates are going up. I may probably do a part two. Okay, um, I'll probably do a part two to this. This probably be part one, but these are some of the main reasons why you see marriage declining, and why you have investment groups such as Morgan Stanley that are projecting that 50% of working class women will be single and childless by the year 2030. Okay, it's not a game out here. And black family, I will say this to y'all, because my channel is here to edify black people and to promote the best benefit of black people. I will say this, black people, is that marriage and long-term relationships are in the best interest of our community, especially as it pertains to us here in the West. However, the marriage contract is not. I think some things need to be revamped with that, because the contract is not. It's not a great deal, because prenups can be easily thrown out these days for those who have done their research. And then when the marriage contract can be broken so easily, right? And then we look at it how one party can just, man, I'll have to make a part two as it pertains to that, okay? Um, but so my videos are pertaining to black people, so I mainly do videos that have to do and deal with the 9 areas of people activity that Dr. Frances Cress Welsing introduced in her work, which are education, entertainment, economics, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. Those are the 9 areas of people activity that my videos tend to focus on. And if you go back and look through the videos and the catalog that I've produced, you will see that most of the videos pertain, if not all of them, pertain to those 9 areas. And so I'll do a part two to this. We'll cut this one off here. Family, y'all tell me what you think. I'll be very interested to hear your comments and reactions down below. If you have any questions or concerns or want to get in touch with me, I'll leave my email down below. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe. Until next time, I will holler back, family.